You're listening to P&P Pals Tabletop Role-playing Radio Theatre. Two mercenaries ride west, looking to join a war. The road they travel is choked by the trees of the Myerswood. Its shaded trails make for dangerous passage, even during more peaceful times.
Hello? Help, please.
Retribution, do you hear someone calling?
Asks Anise.
I do. Please keep an eye on the trail behind us. Be prepared to do what I ask without much explanation, all right?
All right. They had been following a thin trail winding along steep hillsides. It led them to a wider thoroughfare that saw greater traffic. Almost immediately, they spot a small girl in tattered homespun hopping up and down near an overturned wagon. It's not long before she notices Retribution and Anise.
Travelers! Please, help me!
She waves her arms back and forth overhead, her little hops growing steadily into full-on jumps.
Proceed slowly. I need time to check for danger.
Danger? But it's just a child.
Anise thinks. But then she remembers what Retribution had asked.
Yes. Should I stay close or fall back?
Fall back, just a little. More importantly, don't follow directly behind me.
The party of two approach slowly, trying to appear casual and unalarmed.
Child? Are you hurt? Is your family hurt? Do you need help?
Seeing that she's found someone's attention, she stops jumping and yells back.
My little sister's stuck in this
She gives the wagon a swift kick.
heap. I think she's okay, but I can't move these boxes.
Growing closer to the wagon, small, intermittent sobs become clearer and clearer. They're occasionally punctuated with a small shriek or gentle thudding. Something dawns on each of the mercenaries. There are an awful lot of good hiding spots ahead. While the road is generally a bit wider now, the wagon seems to have toppled at a suspiciously narrow point. A bush on one side of the road moves a little more than the wind would account for, and that little girl is looking around nervously, squeezing one hand hard with the other.
Trying to catch the little girl's eye, Retribution ducks her head from side to side.
Once her attention is focused, the child's hands drop. She leans forward, squinting. After a second, she shakes her head before rubbing the back of a wrist across both eyes. When the tiefling remains, despite her efforts to dispel what is clearly imaginary, her jaw drops in awe.
Retribution pulls her horse to a stop, angling its right flank towards the little girl as she does so. She sweeps her cloak back in a broad gesture. She cocks her fist on a hip. This theatrical gesture reveals the sword and scabbard hanging on that side.
Now, is there something you need help with?
The girl shuts her mouth tight before she gives two hard nods. Then, with astonishing speed, the girl dashes to Retribution's horse, both hands outstretched.
The tiefling reaches down, then effortlessly swings the child onto the horse just behind her.
Throwing both arms around Retribution, the girl leans close to deliver a quick, terrified whisper.
You can save us. They're on both sides. Please watch out for my sister. They locked her in a trunk back there because she's smaller.
Just then, a low voice.
Hey, what the fuck are you doing, brat?
That sounds about right. How many are there?
5.
Anise's eyes were closed.
Fennel can see 5 of them.
Is that all?
Yeah, that girl's right. There's 5. Most of them have little knives, but look out for Seth. He's got a big crossbow.
Well, this is Anise.
Hi, Anise.
Hello?
Retribution hooks an arm around the girl, sliding her gently onto Milquetoast.
Stay with her, young lady. She'll keep you safe.
2 of the tiefling's weapons, a longsword and a warhammer, hang from a makeshift harness lashed around her horse. Her hand hangs over them, limp and bored. She looks less like she's choosing a weapon, and more like she's deciding on breakfast. She calls out to the bandits.
Tell me, what am I dealing with? A band of murderers?
The brigands murmur amongst themselves for a few moments.
What are they?
Yeah, we've killed plenty. Dismount, drop your stuff, get headed back the way you came or you'll be next.
Are you sure? You'd better not be posturing.
No, we're a bunch of killers.
Good to know.
She pulls her still-sheathed sword loose from the harness.
Anise, it sounds like they've been at this a while. If they get too close, take the girl and ride back the way we came. I'll come and find you when this is done. Otherwise, pick off the ones you can.
Anise nods in acknowledgement until she realizes that Retribution's gaze is fixed forward.
Yes!
She says. This might be her life now. She wishes she had sounded more confident. Retribution slides from her horse, then takes a moment to compose herself. Her dark cloak is drawn completely closed, her sword and scabbard concealed beneath it.
2 bandits slink out of cover, one from each side of the road. One looks down, gormlessly batting a leaf from his shirt. The other at least has the decency to produce a weapon. He hefts a weighty wooden club and charges.
Her cloak flares, one long motion follows, a broad horizontal cut at her arm's full length. At its end, a flick of the wrist, a blade snapping to a stop so sharply it produces an audible thap.
A small volume of blood splatters the base of a nearby tree. His club clattering to the ground, the bandit pushes against his open belly with both hands. Not from pain or weakness so much as from surprise, he falls to his knees.
Retribution drops her heel into the back of the downed man's head. Such an attack. In this situation, it could be considered a courtesy.
Having finally freed his tunic from the tyranny of leafage, the second man looks up.
Where'd Davis go?
He wonders for an instant. Then, he sees Davis spreading across the ground, moistening the soil. His eyes sting. Davis had been his best friend in all the world. He was going to make whoever did this pay. Then, he notices. He sees. From their cover, they couldn't see. They heard a kind of haughty, noble voice, and thought, but now, red skin, horns, a devil right out of the worst parts of a chapel story.
Devil!
The 3 remaining bandits lean out from behind trees, rocks, bushes. Panic and disbelief are plain on their faces. One of them forgets to breathe until a bit of dizziness sets in. In summation for the group, what have we done?
Don't just stand there, you ass. It's do or die now, isn't it?
Davis's friend reels back with what looks like a length of firewood. He cries out and begins to swing wildly, well before he's close enough to actually connect with his target.
Once he ambles near, Retribution pushes her blade up to block. While holding a sword up to deflect a crude club might seem a simple thing, what she did required a great deal more finesse than that. She had struck the wood hard, twisting the edge of her blade in deep. Whether he realized it or not, she wielded that club now, and until he thought to let go of it, she wielded him too.
Another one thinks she's seen her chance. Charging in with a dagger, she darts in low on Retribution's preoccupied side.
Retribution's scabbard tumbles from her hand as she pulls back, revolving slightly. Much has happened by the time it settles into the dirt. The club and its man have been shifted very deliberately. A hard, rising elbow has sent the woman's dagger flying, and finally, Retribution is now clutching that woman by her skull.
Seth imagines that this is it. Not even a demon can survive an attack from 3 sides. With both of that thing's arms preoccupied, his crossbow could wrap things up nicely. The quarrel hits Retribution below the collarbone.
At this range, a shot like that could punch completely through a person, shattering the shoulder blade along the way. Retribution checks the hit. The bolt was lodged in her natural devil hide, but only just barely. Looking around, she finds the bandit leader smiling, basking in his imagined fatal blow. She grins at him before rolling her shoulder. The crossbow quarrel clatters to the ground.
Fresh panic surges over the group of highwaymen. Their leader fumbles around for a second piece of ammunition. It's the first time he can recall ever having to shoot the same thing twice.
Retribution had hoped that they'd give up after seeing the disembowelment. Davis's friend still struggled to gain control of his club. The woman pulls at the red hand bearing down on her face. The mercenary looks to Anise and the child behind her. The girl's face was buried in Anise's back. It did little to dampen her sobs. Drawing this out could leave one of them hurt or dead.
Anise, don't get shot, but do what you can about the crossbow.
I'll do something.
Retribution gives her a small nod, then pulls her sword down hard. essentially throwing it at the ground behind her. At the same time, she coils, her now free arm, her back and legs, nearly dropping to one knee. Then, she springs.
That man still can't think to let go of his club and loses balance as it's jerked away from him. He tumbles gut first into Retribution's rapidly uncoiling arm. He thinks, at first, that he's experiencing the worst gut punch of his life. But then the stabbing begins. Stabbing, cutting pain as the devil's hand twists into his belly, gripping the meat under his sternum. As shocking as this is, he's more surprised to see the ground grow suddenly distant, and surprised again to feel his back be battered by foliage.
After the first strike, Anise had struggled to keep up with the flurry of activity that followed. Her lack of awareness peaked when a dark shape grappling two flailing brigands leapt from the ground into the trees above. As leaves fluttered to the ground, she shook her head once. Looking at the column of light streaming through the new hole in the canopy above her, she shook it again. And again. And again, like a frustrating puzzle box, as if shaking it might cause a solution to fall into place. It's for the best that Anise had readied her focus earlier, when she first heard cries for help. She might not have thought to do it now. When Seth fires his crossbow again, at her this time, she distractedly draws up a barrier. The bolt splinters on contact.
The small girl cries out reflexively, but no one is hurt.
After that, Anise blankly returns fire with an icy ray. It's a perfunctory, absent-minded gesture. Her mind is so consumed trying to unravel what she thinks she may have just seen. Damn!
Seth had braced his weapon on an overturned log. Now it was frozen to it.
Help me, moron!
The other remaining bandit does as he's told, and begins to chip away at the ice with a dull knife.
Yeah, be fucking careful! My arm is stuck under the damned thing.
They're pondering how best to free his arm, when the first body falls nearby.
Hit it! Hit it! Take the arm, do what you have to, we've got to—
Another rustling, another crash, this time from the woods nearby. In their panic, they had forgotten the young girl on horseback, shooting strange signs at them.
The second ray strikes the standing bandit in the neck.
He passes soon after.
Retribution drops from the tree seconds later. She looks well composed.
The final bandit hammers a closed fist onto the ice, before desperately digging at it, before trying to hammer it again, anything to free himself.
We didn't hurt nobody. We robbed people, but we didn't kill them.
Oh, is that the truth?
Yes. I shoot a bolt at people's feet. They see the rustling in the woods and expect more of it. People drop their stuff and run. Please don't kill me.
Before this, Retribution looked resolved, determined to protect herself, her surgeon, the little girl that asked for her help. But she didn't look angry. Even after being shot, she didn't look angry. Now she looked angry. Retribution put one foot to the log, then roughly grabbed the bandit leader under the arm. She pulled back, wrenching him from the ice.
His weapon clatters to the ground nearby. Seth's broken, tattered, frostbitten arm hangs at his side.
What did I ask you?
What?
What did I ask you?
Between the cold, the blood loss, and the fear, his face is now stark white.
You asked if we killed anybody.
None of you needed to die today. I could have just as easily broken your bones, but I was told I was fighting a band of killers.
She shakes him hard before casting him to the ground. Retribution retrieves Seth's crossbow, plucking one of the scattered quarrels from the ground nearby.
They died because of you. If you weren't a killer before, you're a killer now. Can you accept that?
With his one good arm, he pushes his face from the ground, just far enough to nod.
Good. There's some nobility in that. And I hope it brings you some peace.
P&P Pals is made possible by travelers like you. If you've enjoyed listening to P&P Pals, please tell a friend. Thank you. Near the overturned wagon, a locked traveling trunk holds a small girl captive.
Retribution has carried all the corpses further down the road. She's worried about how to inter them. 5 graves without a shovel? or 5 mounds worth of rocks. She's still pondering as Anise approaches.
Did you find a key?
No. If that box has a key, it's not being carried by anyone here.
Anise fidgets uneasily.
Yes? What's on your mind?
What if it was being carried by one of the bandits you took? One of the bandits that fell. Don't ask if she can fly, don't ask if she can fly. Tieflings need to eat too, don't ask if she can fly.
Oh, well, that thing could be anywhere. We'll open it some other way. Come on.
As the pair heads back to the wagon, Retribution is surprised to see the little girl they saved fiddling intently with the locked trunk.
What are you doing there, little one?
I'm picking this lock.
Retribution raises an appraising eyebrow.
Lockpicking? As far as skills go, that's a pretty useful... Oh.
Drawing close enough to see over the girl's shoulder, Retribution sees that the little lady is trying to, pick the lock by mashing a stick into the keyhole. She shifts it around deliberately. Her tongue is sticking out from the corner of her mouth. This is, of course, due to the intense focus the work demands.
When Davis did this before, it didn't look so hard.
Anise averts her eyes. She didn't really want them to have names. She worried that killing them had been a mistake. Maybe they had some kind of relationship that worked in some odd way?
The child notices.
Are you worried about me because Davis is dead? He was nicer than the others, and Carr was okay, I guess, but they still locked my sister in a box and made me jump around yelling about it. They're assholes.
They did seem like assholes, yes. Can I take a look at that?
You should try. This is taking me a really long time.
Retribution tries her best to finesse the box open with a flat iron bar and a little bit of leverage.
It doesn't work. The lock is a tough one. That said, it's somewhat mismatched. The lock is strong and new, but the trunk itself is quite worn.
Young lady, could you tell your sister to cover her ears, please?
Oh yeah! Janice, cover your ears, please!
Retribution, in trying to knock the lock apart, hammers the face of the trunk off.
The little girl in the box is Janice. She blinks and stumbles at the sudden reintroduction to sunlight and fresh air. As her eyes adjust, she sees her sister, then a pale girl in a big tan coat, then a red-skinned giant with horns. She faints, collapsing back onto the trunk's padded interior.
Sister! Oh, you... Wake up and thank these people for saving us. She's just being dramatic.
She's been in a very stressful situation. I'll make sure she's stable, and then we'll just let her rest for a while.
I better start now then anyways.
The little girl stands up very straight, then gives a deep bow.
Thank you for helping us. Things might not seem that bad for us now, but it was only a matter of time before they sold us to someone worse or stewed us in the winter. My name is Absinthe. My sister's named Janice.
She explains that their parents are missing, taken from their home by a group of people they'd never seen before. Despite being young and of limited means, they're trying to find them.
I had an idea. You're really strong. If you help me look for my parents, we'll find them straight away.
In the back of her mind, Retribution knew the girl's parents were dead, either to some occult ritual or to some dead-end ransom attempt.
Well, we can't leave you out here on your own. Let's begin by getting back to civilization, all right? We'll figure out how to proceed after that.
Okay, but by the time we're there, though, you won't want to go on without us. Look at this sweetie.
Absinthe gently pinches her sister's sleeping face. Retribution, should we, salvage what we can from this wagon? Poking around, it's actually more like a camp. There are a few sleeping bags and things, a spot for a campfire. If we're going to be traveling with 2 more people, even if they're children, we'll need more supplies.
Supplies? Like money and stuff? Oh, here!
The young girl leads them to the far side of the wagon. She steps into the fluttering shade of the wagon's torn canopy and starts feeling around its bed.
Give me a second. Hold on. And...
She finds what she's looking for, the edge of a plank, a false bottom embedded into the floor of a wagon. The plank is pulled free. A tidy avalanche of copper, silver, and gold slides to the ground.
I'm no banker, but I think this pays for us.
Often, solving one problem leads to another. Rarely, beating some thugs in the woods leads to a pile of children and money. The music for our intro was composed by Walker Williams. We have links to him and his work in the description. P&P Pals is adapted from a 5th edition D&D play-by-post campaign and has been dramatized for your enjoyment. This show is produced by Precarious at Best and heard by you. See you again, little traveler.